Okay, it's 3 o'clock. I guess I can kick off this class. Hi, everyone. My name is Nadia Bajan. I'm going to moderate this class, and I'm so happy to introduce Allie Duffy, Dr. Allie Duffy, who is going to present back pain class. And Allie Duffy is actually a doctor of physical therapy, a national certified Pilates instructor through Polestar program. She's been practicing physical therapy for 5 years now in Boston. So I really have the pleasure to introduce Allie. And also a quick note, just I see everyone is on mute. If you're not on mute, I'm gonna make sure you're on mute. But then throughout the session, if you have any questions, I guess raise your hand and unmute yourself. You can ask, or however Allie decides. And then at the end, we're gonna take 2-3 minutes for feedback. Everyone should leave feedback for the instructor, for the moderator, for the class, so we can all improve. With that, I'm gonna pass you to Allie. Thank you.
Right. Nadia, thank you so much for the introduction. So welcome to our back pain program today. It'll be mostly a movement-based program because I know all of us have been sitting at home in our not so ergonomic setups on the couch using our laptops, and I think we could all use a little bit of movement for our spine and maybe a little bit of education about ergonomics for our workspace at home. So we'll save a little bit of time for that at the end, and we'll leave a little bit of time for some questions as well. So to get started today, all you need is an open space to be able to lie down and move a little bit. If you have a yoga mat, that works well, but if you don't, you can use a soft surface like a carpet, a towel, a blanket, and if you're not comfortable getting up and down from the floor, you can always use your couch or your bed as well. So what I'll have you guys do, I'm going to join you at the back of the mat. I'll have you lie down to get started. So set up your space. If you have a small pillow nearby, that may come in handy. It's not necessary. Excuse me. It's not a must, but it may be helpful for you as we modify. So now that everybody has their setup, just make sure you tip your video screen down so that I can see you. I'm going to be checking the cameras, just making sure everybody's form looks good, that you're all moving safely. So it's helpful if I can see you. And I do want to preface this by saying that nothing we do today should hurt your back. This is all meant to be gentle. It's meant to be good for your back. So I'll offer a number of modifications. If you need them, please take them or take a rest if something doesn't feel good for you. So go ahead and lie down onto your back and find a comfortable position. So that might be with legs straight, flat on the mat. If that doesn't feel good, you can always bend your knees and start with your knees bent. So just find a comfortable position. I'm gonna sit up to just make sure I have a good view of everybody. Good. So we're gonna start to scan your body, and that's just a mental picture of how you're doing today. So it's helpful to start thinking about maybe the very top of your body from the crown of your head, and just start to notice how you feel. Down into your shoulders, into your rib cage, into your lower back, your hips, knees, ankles, and feet. And just notice how your body is feeling. Notice any differences you may feel from side to side. And there's no right or wrong. You're just taking note of how your body's feeling, especially after you've been working for most of the day. And as you tune your attention into your body, start to notice your breath. And just see if you can visualize where your breath is going. Our breath can move in multiple dimensions here, and that can be up high in our shoulders, it can be down low into our belly, and it can even be out wide into your rib cage, the sides of your ribs. So when we breathe, when we sit in a sort of a slumpy position, we often tend to breathe using our neck muscles. And believe it or not, that type of breathing is really only meant for when we are exerting ourselves at a really high level. So notice if your breath right now is making your shoulders kind of hike up and down, And see if you can send your breath down lower into your belly, letting your shoulders just relax down onto the mat. We'll take a moment here for 2 more breaths. And if you guys are just joining in, feel free to take a spot onto the floor or yoga mat if you can. And 1 more deep breath here. And then we'll start to create some movement. So if your legs are extended, just bend your knees and place your feet gently on the mat. We're going to start to initiate some movement from the pelvis, a gentle pelvic rock, front to back. So you want to think of tipping your tailbone back towards your face, closing the space under your low back, and then tipping your tailbone away from your face, increasing the space under your low back. Tip it back, and then increase the space. This movement will likely start pretty small, especially if your lower back is a little bit stiff. But as you start to move your pelvis front to back, you may find that that movement gets a little bit easier and you can go a little bit farther. So be gentle here, just starting to create a little bit of gentle movement through the lower spine. Allow yourself to continue to breathe. There's no right or wrong way to breathe here, as long as you are breathing. Good. We'll do about 3 more. I'm just going to come up to quickly check in on everybody's form here. Good. Everybody can stand to lightly press your hands down into the mat. And 1 more time here. Good. And then we're going to start to move into some rotation. So bring your knees together, feet together. Arms are down by your side. We're going to start to gently rock the legs side to side. So we're just starting to introduce a little bit of rotation into our lower back here. Again, you're going only as far as you can go without any tenderness or soreness in your lower back. It's okay for your hips to lift up, but I want you to try and keep your shoulders down on the mat. So that will help us to focus the stretching to your lower back at this point. And we will do your upper back a little later on in class here. So nice and easy, side to side. And again, you may find that that range of motion gets a little bit bigger each time you go. We'll do about 4 more here. Last 3. Last 2. And 1 more time, settle with your legs right in the middle. Go ahead and separate your feet in this position about hip distance apart. We're going to start with an exercise that is meant to strengthen our glutes or our butt muscles. And our glute muscles play a really important role in supporting our spine when we do any bending tasks, walking tasks, things like that. So what I'm going to have you do is lift your hips up to the ceiling in a bridge position. And right away, bring your hands to your butt muscles. Actually see if you can feel those muscles working. They should be doing the work here. It's not uncommon in this position to feel a little bit of soreness in your lower back. If that's the case, think about pulling your rib cage down, like you're connecting the bottom of your ribs to the very top of your hips with little suspenders. And just hold that position. Once you feel comfortable here, I'm going to have you drop your hips down and lift them back up. Drop your hips down and lift them back up. I'll have you guys continue here so I can check in on the form. And you're nice and easy, just lowering and lifting. Good. Steve, can you bring your feet a little closer towards your bottom? There you go. Good. And Kelly, draw your rib cage down just slightly here. That's it. Everybody push through your big toe and maybe see if you can press your hips up just an inch higher. You may even feel a light stretch across the front of your hips. We'll do 2 more like this. Good. And last time, drop your hips back down, take a quick rest. We're going to go right into some strengthening for the opposite muscles, which is our abdominals. So we just kind of gave our spine some support from the muscles on the back of our body. We're now going to give our spine some support through our abdominals on the front. So from this position, bring your right knee in towards your chest, and you're just going to gently hug that knee with both hands. So right away, this might feel like a gentle stretch, but I want you to imagine that I now place a glass of water right onto your belly. You want to keep that glass of water exactly still and stretch your left leg out straight. Now, if this feels really hard, lift your left leg up a little higher to the ceiling. If it feels really easy, you can lower that left leg down towards the floor. Now, we're going to switch the legs without disrupting that glass of water. Your head is still down on the mat, and slow with control, we're going to switch the legs. I'd like you to try and add in your breathing here. Exhale when you straighten the leg. Inhale, bend it in. Exhale, straighten. Inhale, bend it in. Exhale, push straighten. Inhale, bend it in. And we continue. So you're gently moving the legs in space, but trying to keep your trunk nice and still on the mat. Notice if your shoulders are starting to lift up off the mat, and pull them down and back. Let go of any tension in your head, neck, and jaw. We'll go for 3 more and 2 more. Last time, hug both knees in towards your chest and gently rock your legs from side to side. Good. So from here, we're going to roll right onto your side. In this, and it doesn't matter which side, we're going to end up doing both. So maybe you want to face the camera first so you know what to do during this exercise. You're going to make a little pillow with your bicep. And if this doesn't feel good, this is where your handy pillow can come in, and you can use a real pillow here. You're then going to bend your knees in towards your chest just slightly. And then start to reach your top arm straight out in front of you to tap the floor. We're then going to reach the top arm up and over to tap the floor behind you, and then come back. This exercise is called book openings. And so you can kind of imagine your top arm is like it's opening the page of a giant book, and then it's closing that page. I'm going to hop up so I can see. You don't have to hold this stretch, but you're gently reaching up and over. Good, Kelly, bend your knees in closer towards your chest. Sri Ramni, you too. Yep, there we go, good. All right, and you can gently follow that hand with your eyes. So that'll allow your neck to gently rotate and twist. Nice form here, guys. We're gonna do 3 more on this side. And 2 more here. Stop it. Last time. Good. And then you guys can roll right onto your stomach. So that was a nice stretch to prepare us for the upper back. And we're going to work into that a little bit more here. Now, if laying on your stomach right off the bat doesn't feel good for your low back, go ahead and put that pillow right underneath your hip. We'll then go ahead and lie all the way down. Separate your feet a little bit wider than hip distance and place your hands directly underneath your shoulders. We're going to start to press the spine up into extension. So you can start small. Maybe it's just your upper back. Maybe it feels good to push all the way up into your lower back. Okay, so move gently, move slowly here. You don't have to hold this stretch, but you do want to be sensitive to any soreness or tenderness you feel. Just go easy. It's meant to be gentle. We're going to try about 10 repetitions here. And Peter, I'm going to have you, oh, that's not Peter, but in Peter's camera, take your shoulders down away from your ears just slightly. Good. Very nice form there, guys. This is a really great stretch that you can integrate throughout your day if you've been sitting a lot. This is the exact opposite posture of what our spine assumes while we're sitting. So if you've spent a lot of time being flexed, it can be really nice for our spine to open up the front of the body, open up the space where our nerve roots exit. It can be really, really good for you to get moving after. We'll try 2 more here. And then on your last one, come gently down and roll onto your opposite side. We're gonna do that book openings exercise here. So just make sure you're on your opposite side. Once again, you're making a little pillow with your biceps. You're bending your knees in nice and close towards your chest. And we're gonna start by reaching the top arm out in front. Go ahead and reach the top arm up and over, and then come back down. Now, if for some reason this bothers your shoulder, you can always keep a soft bend in your elbow. The purpose of this stretch is really to move your rib cage and your upper back. So it's okay to not move your arm quite as far, but continue to rotate your spine up towards the ceiling and then down towards the floor. I'll let you guys work through about 4 more there. Good, and Kevin, Kang, try and keep your knees together there for me when you rotate up and over. Awesome. Nice form, Steve. Good. We'll do 2 more there. And then on your last time, come all the way on up to a seated position. So just gently come on up to sitting right in the center of your mat. In the seated position, if it's uncomfortable for your hips, go ahead and sit up on a pillow. Otherwise, you can sit with your legs crossed, or you can also find a diamond position to sit with your feet in front of you. So just find a comfortable seated position. And then think about finding the best posture you've ever had here. And we'll talk a little bit about posture at the end of this class. But for now, shoulders stacking right over your hips. Your head is up in space. Good. So now that you guys have some beautiful posture that looks awesome, we're going to go ahead and reach the arms wide out to the side. Now imagine that you're sitting right up against a wall here. I want you to pretend that you stay right up against the wall, and we're going to start to tip sideways. Okay, so we've done a lot of different spine movements today, but we haven't done a lot in this plane. This is called side bending. So having that vision of being up against the wall should help you to get a better stretch through the side of the body without actually slumping your spine forward and flexing. So we're staying up nice and tall, almost like a windmill here. We'll do 2 more. And then everyone pause the next time your right hand is down and hold it there. Now we're going to add a little bit of rotation. So go ahead and tap your left hand down towards the floor, lift it up to the ceiling. Tap your left hand down towards the floor and lift it up towards the ceiling. Nice job here, guys. We're going to do 3 more on this side. And 2 more. Use your right hand to keep pushing into the floor. That's it. 1 more time. Open up. Now sit yourself up super tall again. And then go ahead and dive your left hand down. Keeping your left hand down, you're going to twist, tap the floor with your right hand, and open on up. Twist and tap the floor with your right hand, and open up again. We'll do 3 more on this side. Allow yourself to gently breathe. 2 more. And 1 more time. Come all the way on up. Good. Okay. So we're going to transition next into a little bit of plank work to get some movement through our hips and through our core. If planking doesn't feel good for you, I'm going to show you a couple of modifications here. So watch me for just a moment and then we'll get into movement. So you have the option to start up on your hands and toes. You can come down to hands and knees. You can also come down to knees and forearms. Okay, so any wrist sensitivity or soreness in your feet and ankle, there are a lot of modifications here. I'm going to start up in that full plank position and talk you guys through that to start. Okay, so everybody find your hands down on the mat and then walk 1 foot back and the opposite foot back to find your plank. Again, if this doesn't feel good for your back, come down onto your knees and you can be in a modified plank position here. So your body should make one long line and just work to hold that position. Now, this is kind of a funny cue here, but can you all think about flaring your tailbone up to the ceiling just slightly? And you're going to use that flare to push your hips backwards, stretch, and then come right back to your plank position. Again, push your hips backwards, find a little stretch, and come right back to your plank position. If you're down on your knees, you're pushing your hips backwards, stretching your spine, coming forward into your modified plank. So move gently and think of continuing to flare your tailbone here. That will give you a little deeper stretch into your hamstrings, but it will also help you to protect your spine position here. Good. That's it. And Rebecca, let your shoulders drop down away from your ears a little bit. Good. Very nice. Excellent, guys. Just 2 more like this. And last time, as you come forward, go ahead and drop your knees down onto the mat to find an all-fours position. Again, if this bothers your wrist or your knees, you can always come down onto your forearms, or you can choose to roll up your mat or bring the pillows underneath your knees. So once you're in a comfortable position, we're going to move through a few cat-cows, and that looks like this: dropping your head down, letting your spine round, and then dropping your chest to the floor, letting your head lift just slightly. Think of initiating this movement with your rib cage. So you're pulling your ribs up, and then you're allowing your rib cage to drop down, your shoulder blades drop together, chest pulls through. Drop your head down to hang, round your spine, rib cage up and in, and then drop down, let your chest open, the heart shines right through. We'll do 2 more like this. Good, and one more time. Good. Now we're going to add a little bit of rotation here to finish. So again, similar to what we did with the book opening, go ahead and open your right arm up to the ceiling. And then you're going to thread your right arm under your left arm and let your head and shoulder drop down to the floor. We'll do just a couple more like that. So you open your right arm up to the ceiling, let your right arm come underneath your left arm, thread it through like you're threading a needle, and come all the way on up. We'll do 1 more on this side. It's okay to let your left elbow bend to give yourself a deeper stretch here. And then come all the way up and open. You can place your right hand down and then open your left arm out to the side. Now thread your left arm underneath your right arm, twist to look towards your right shoulder, and come all the way up and open. Again, thread that left arm underneath your right arm, let your right elbow bend a little bit, and come all the way on up. We'll do just 1 more here, threading your right arm under, left arm under your right arm, and then come all the way back to your all-fours position. Now, we'll go ahead and sit up for just a moment. We're going to stretch the hip flexor muscle as our last little exercise today. And there's a couple ways we can do this. I'm going to demonstrate down on the knees first, but again, if you have knee sensitivity, I will show you the exercise in standing in just a moment. So everybody come up to a kneeling position and walk your right foot in front of your left. This is going to help us stretch our left hip flexor. And so our hip flexor muscle, it actually starts down at the knee and it comes all the way up and it attaches to our lumbar spine. And so when we're tight in our hip flexors, it can be pulling on our spine and creating some of that soreness through our lower back. So in this position, square off your hips by rotating your left hip forward, right hip backwards, and then slowly start to lunge into your right knee until you feel a stretch in the front of your left hip. If you're still not feeling that stretch, try to pick your chest up a little bit taller, draw your rib cage in towards your spine, and lightly engage your left glute muscle. Now, for those of you who are uncomfortable with kneeling, the stretch looks the same. You're just going to stand. Okay, you need a little bit of balance to do this exercise. You may want to have something next to you to hold on, but same kind of idea. We're going to make that stretch just a little bit deeper by reaching our left arm up to the ceiling, right arm down towards the floor, and bend ever so slightly over to the right side, like you're going to pick up something on the floor on your right side. And just breathe here. And then we'll carefully come out of that stretch and set up for our second side. Now at home, when you guys practice that one, I would recommend holding that stretch about 30 to 45 seconds. So when we set up for the second side, left foot goes in front, right foot in the back. Square off your hips by pulling your left hip back, right hip forward. Get your spine up nice and tall, and then slowly hinge forward until you feel a light stretch in the front of your right thigh. If you're still not feeling that stretch, pick your chest up, see if you can engage your right glute muscle this time. And then we'll deepen the stretch by lifting our right arm up in the air, left arm down towards the floor, and side bend just slightly over towards the left side. Breathe here. It's okay to feel a little bit wobbly in this position. If you need to hold on to something here, that's fine. And then we'll gently press back, and you guys can find a comfortable seat. So I want to spend the last couple of minutes of class just quickly talking about some ergonomics and how to use these stretches throughout your day. So I just showed you a bunch of stretches. You may like some more than others. What I would recommend is trying to pick one or two of your favorite stretches and doing those a couple times throughout your day. So no matter how perfect your ergonomic setup is at home, our spines don't like to be in one position for a really long time. So I would recommend trying to take a break maybe every hour, squeeze in one or two of those stretches, go back to what you were doing. It can really help to break up the day just to keep your spine moving in a couple different directions. And it doesn't take a ton of time if you're picking just one or two of these stretches here and there. From an ergonomic standpoint, I want to show you guys a little bit. I'm going to pull out my chair here, and I'd like to show you guys just a couple quick pointers on what to do with your work from home setup. So if I'm using my chair here, and you may not have a chair, you may be using your couch, and that's okay. A couple big things that you're looking for are to be able to find a 90-degree angle with your hips and your trunk. And so for most chairs, we kind of end up in this slumpy position, or our couches. If you find a pillow to bring in to give your back some support, that can be really helpful here. Instead of us having to think, okay, I have to sit up tall, I have to sit up tall. Boom, we've got our reminder right behind us that's giving us some support to maintain closer to that 90-degree angle. So from the lower body, it's a little bit easier to set up. When we look at what we need to consider in the upper body, it's a little bit trickier, especially if you're using a laptop. If you have the option to use an external keyboard or external monitors, I would highly recommend that, because it makes it a lot more flexible for you to be able to have the right neck position and the right shoulder position. Unfortunately, we don't all have that luxury for our home setup. So I would recommend that if you are using a laptop and say you don't even have a desk setup, you're sitting on your couch, I would try and stack up a couple of pillows to get your monitor to be about chest height. So if you were resting your laptop down, it would be about your chest height. If you had the perfect ergonomic setup, but your laptop screen is down here, you're still gonna end up sitting quite slumpy because you have to look down at that screen. So you wanna make sure first and foremost that your screen is high enough so that when you sit up nice and tall, you're looking right ahead at that screen. That makes it a little bit tricky to have awesome shoulder posture because now the keyboard's up here. So somewhere at chest height is kind of a good in-between spot. It might be a little tiring to be typing up at that position, but you can always take breaks with your arms and then come back to that. So that's my very quick spiel on ergonomics and work from home. But I wanted to leave you guys a couple of minutes to ask any questions that you have, whether it's about back pain, one of the stretches we did today, or something about your home setup.
I have a quick question. So I think the biggest thing I've been having most pain in like my upper back or around my neck and shoulders. So are any of these exercises particularly good for that?
Yes, that's a great question. And I've been hearing that from a lot of people today and last week. So generally speaking, our necks actually tend to be pretty flexible. A lot of the times when we start to get neck soreness, it's because our neck is not in a great position or our neck is doing a little bit too much because our upper backs are stiff. So a lot of the rotation exercises, like the book opening where you're laying on your side, the all fours exercise where you twist up, those are exercises that help you to create mobility in your upper back. And that should take away some of the stress you're experiencing in the neck and the upper back. But that being said, you can do all the stretching in the world. And then if you go back to your computer screen and you're looking down all day, try and get that screen height up, especially if you're having neck and upper back soreness. Make that your priority, that your screen is up. It should be such that your eye height hits the middle of the screen when you're sitting with good posture. Thanks, Steve. Any other questions?
Where in Boston are you? Where in Boston are you?
I live in Somerville.
Do you practice? Is your practice in Boston?
I do. So I actually just opened up my own private practice about 3 weeks ago, which has been not the greatest timing, but we're working through it. And I do also still work per diem at a hospital-based clinic.
So is the practice in Somerville?
It is.
The practice is in Somerville. You know,
Yeah.
if you send us a bunch of cards, we do a lot of sport up there in Boston.
Awesome.
You know, the Red Sox, the what the hell is the basketball team?
The Celtics.
Celtics. So maybe we should talk at another time, but if you send us cards, we could give them out for you. No problem.
Thank you, Peter. That would be awesome. Yeah, if you send me over your email, I can get you all my info.
Yeah, Nadia, however I have to do it, I'll get an email and we'll get stuff where you just call us. And
Thank
when
you.
you're done talking, if you want to call us after this is
I
over,
will.
we'll get that organized. Yeah, why don't you give us
Thank
a call?
you.
All right, perfect.
Thank
perfect,
you.
Perfect. No, you're great. Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions I can answer for you guys today?
I have another actually.
Sure.
So I'm looking to get a better kind of office chair for my home setup.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've just been shopping around trying to look at like the ergonomic friendly ones. I don't know if there's any like particular brands or resources or where you'd recommend I start looking.
That is also a great question. There are, I would beg to say, millions of options out there at this point. What I think the most important thing that you can do is take some measurements of your own body. So measure your femur length, which is your thigh bone, measure your tibia length, so your shin bone, and try and get a sense of the dimensions of the chair relative to your body. So like I talked about those 90-degree angles that you're looking for, if you know that chair that you're finding doesn't go down low enough to be able to get your feet flat on the floor, or you know, it's a really deep chair, so in order for you to get the backrest, you're having to lean backwards, try and compare some of those measurements to your body. And then it's not the easiest time to do this, but test them out. Everybody's body's a little bit different. One thing I really do like that can be a quick fix for people is the tush cush. You can Google tush cush, and it is a type of cushion that you can add to any chair that helps you to kind of tip your pelvis into a better position. So it makes it really hard to sit back and slump. So in absence of buying a whole new chair, maybe you try that out first.
Simple question. 50% of all females across all populations, so whether they're on our Olympic team or whether they're seniors, are incontinent. The pelvic floor, pubococcygeal, the pelvic floor, and the angle of the pelvic floor, a lady by the name of Michelle Austin, Fluidity, has spent her lifetime talking about pelvic neutral and finding pelvic neutral, how to carry yourself as you walk. Do you have any input on how a female or a male, for all that matters, can self-check themselves to see if they're in the proper pelvic position while they're walking? They're too far forward, they're too far back. So a lot of people just take their hands, wrap it on their iliac crest, tilt your pelvis forward, tilt your pelvis back, and where your wrists feel relaxed, that's your pelvic neutral.
Yep.
Lately, we've been trying, you balance in dorsiflexion on a slant board. You balance in dorsiflexion, feel how strong you are. Balance in plantar flexion, see how strong you are. If you feel stronger in plantar flexion, it's because the plantar flexion pushes your pelvis backwards. So you know that, try to equalize your plantar flexion, dorsiflexion. All of it is so subjective, and this is so important that I was just wondering if you had some input on that.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing because I think everybody's pelvic neutral varies so much, and we have been talking in the clinic now about people's sacral angle and how that plays a role in their ability to get to pelvic neutral. But not to get too sciencey for you guys, I would say in general, to, as Peter was just saying, to be able to hold the sides of your pelvis, you can make a really big movement and arch your back, a really big movement to round your back. But I would say when you feel like the bony part of the front of your hip and the back of your hip are perpendicular to the floor, you should be close to pelvic neutral. And for most people, that does feel like a natural wrist, a comfortable wrist position. I do also tend to cue people on the rib position because I think some people find that pelvic neutral, but it's at the expense of being overly extended in the thoracic spine. So thinking about being able to draw your rib cage down towards your hip crease without also then subsequently rounding through the lower back. So separating the movement from the pelvis to the movement in your thoracic spine, your upper back, and being able to keep that working together as you walk. And so one cue I will give people to be able to feel it is to keep their thumbs on the bottom of their ribs, pinkies on the top of their hips. And if you theoretically stay in that neutral spine position, the space between those two landmarks should not change tremendously. So some people are getting tons of extension. They'll feel a big opening in that space. Some people might even be getting a little closing in that space as they walk. So you can play around with that at home, walk around a little bit, keep your fingers on those bones and see how much movement you're getting through your spine.
So once you're in that position, then you would practice your breathing exercises from there? You would make sure?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Try and get that lateral expansion through the rib cage. Yep.
83% of all Americans breathe backwards.
Yeah.
Published article, 83% of all Americans breathe backwards.
I believe it. I believe it. I spend a huge chunk of my day teaching breathing.
Without a doubt. No. What's the most important thing you do all day? Breathe. If you don't believe me, go without it. See what you think.
Yes, especially today.
No, you're great. Thank you so much. Your stuff is very good. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for joining, Peter. Thank you guys all for joining today. I hope to see you all next week. I was thinking next week we may talk a little bit about hip hinging and how to bend over, how to pick things up, and what to think about when you're moving in those ways. So I hope to see you guys again.